Hello and welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Awareness TV, episode number 445, recorded December 30th, 2023, our last show for 2023. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I am your cybersecurity host and professor of this particular episode and all of our episodes here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV, bringing to you information on cybersecurity, tips and techniques, things you can use to protect yourself from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century. And folks, those are cybercrimes. This year has been a very, very interesting year relating to cybersecurity. We have a lot of recaps that we want to go over with everyone to discuss some of our guests, some of predictions for 2024. And also talk about the FBI warnings that affect us as well in our everyday lives regarding to cyber. So again, folks, welcome again to this week's episode and this show. I wanted to take the time to thank our producers here at WWDBTV for their assistance in help producing our show, and putting this on the Roku network and on YouTube as well. I thank all of our shows here at WWDBTV, and we look for a prosperous 2024 for next year. As we reflect on the year in cybersecurity, it is evidence that the digital landscape is one that's dynamic and challenging environment for all businesses across every sector. In this review, we aim to do a comprehensive understanding of the significance of the cybersecurity incidences and how they have impacted on our daily lives, and especially the U.S. and our infrastructure, our financial, healthcare industry, and of course, our entertainment industry as well, especially being here in Las Vegas. And I have to bring up the attack of the MGM Grand and Caesars Palace this year. It's been very devastating to the entertainment community here in Las Vegas and to the cyber world. It's again a calling on all businesses to be alert and look for cybersecurity strategies to protect themselves from these types of cyber threats. As we look back, the U.S. infrastructure cyber threats this year witnessed a significant increase in targeting of U.S. infrastructure, such as our water systems, our gas systems across the country, being very vulnerable to nation states that have infiltrated our computer systems and created sleeper cells within our networks that could possibly cause havoc and damage to our nation's infrastructure. And again, a warning to all businesses that they must have policies in place to protect themselves from these types of threats. Or next, the healthcare sector. Healthcare sectors this year, wow, an incredible amount of unprecedented cyber threats that affect the healthcare industry, locking up hospitals where emergency rooms cannot help patients because of their networks being attacked by ransomware and cyber attacks. And then the information from these actual attacks being sold in a darknet, giving the privacy information of these patients to illicit gang members and nation states around the world. The financial sector. Financial sector, again, is the primary target for these types of attacks. This sector experienced cyber attacks consisting of phishing schemes, system infiltrations, and data breaches. These type of attacks will be on the rise more and more as time goes on this year within cyber. And of course, we have the MGM Grand a few months ago that was devastating cyber attack that affected MGM Grand as well as Caesars Palace or Caesars Entertainment. They paid out several millions of dollars to these hackers in order to get their data back or to stop the actual attack, causing chaos within the hospitality industry. This year, absolutely incredible for these types of cyber attacks. And again, folks, I emphasize a fourth time, it shows how everyone, including businesses, must have proper cybersecurity plans in place to protect ourselves from these types of incidents. I have a story here I'd like to share with you coming from Bloomberg Podcast.
Two particular sets of attacks we're concerned about at this moment in time. One is criminal cyber attacks against the hospital chain. It had real impact. Rural clinics closed, some hospitals in 3 states turning away ambulances and canceling elective services. That's done by criminals, and the White House has pushed out guidelines on how to tackle that. Second set of attacks we're tracking is an increase by Iran in cyber attacks against 10 water systems in this country. And in a similar way, there are basic cybersecurity practices like changing default passwords and limiting administrator account access that could prevent those attacks being successful.
So that is officially, though, the line from the White House that Iran was behind these 10 attacks against water treatment facilities here in the United States.
It is, but I want to be clear, each and every day, American companies, critical services are facing persistent cyber attacks, and we absolutely need to do more to lock our digital doors to defend against them. Yes, sometimes in periods of crises we'll see an increase in a particular type of attack, but every single day we have too many unlocked doors and open windows in our digital cyberspace.
Yeah, that specifically, the plant in Pennsylvania that I mentioned outside Pittsburgh, the Municipal Water Authority of Aliquippa serves about 15,000 people. We have no reason to believe that anyone is at risk. Are they just trying to let us know what they can do, Ann?
Absolutely, no one is at risk. The attack had minimal impact. The water system is operating the water system manually.
What's the response then? Is there an answer from the administration to an attack like this?
So there's an us and a them. And the first response needs to be to absolutely lock our digital doors against these attacks. So for example, in the case of the water system, just last year, EPA issued a rule putting in place minimum cybersecurity practices, things like changing default passwords, things like removing or limiting the accounts administrator access have. That rule faced litigation and had to be pulled back, but there is absolutely nothing preventing every water system in this country. It doesn't cost any money to change default passwords, to put in place those basic cybersecurity practices. So that's the first part. There's the us part of this, which is to say we have to lock our digital doors. And then of course there's the them piece. And from a US government perspective, there are actions we're taking every day. Taking down digital infrastructure, ensuring that we're following the trail of who is responsible for that and handling it appropriately.
How about just remove the door? I know you want to close the door, but should these facilities be online at all? How about we take all this equipment off the internet, Ann?
It's a great question. There are real reasons to automate operations across critical services, whether it's water systems, whether it's rail systems. We believe that can be done securely and safely, and that's why the White House and the US government, FBI, CISA, have been pushing out practical cybersecurity guidelines so we can get the benefit of new technology, improve the services critical services are available to American citizens, but do so in a safe and secure way.
We're spending time talking with Ann Neuberger, who works inside the national security apparatus in the White House with a specific focus on cyber, which many would say is the new frontier here. And this is the question you probably don't want to answer or cannot answer. Does the United States have offensive capabilities to go after bad actors in a place like Iran when it comes to cyber?
Every capable nation in cyberspace is using every tool possible. The first and most important tool is defense. Absolutely. The US government also has capabilities when necessary to go on offense, but I can't emphasize enough how much the most important thing to do is to close our doors and lock our windows. I think, in some parts of the country, people feel safe leaving their car keys in their car. In cyberspace, we face persistent criminal attacks each and every day. We don't need to wait for sophisticated countries because there is the basic cyber attacks that we can defend against and be better protected against by following the cybersecurity guidelines, which US government is pushing out actively, the resources we're making available. We're absolutely committed to ensuring every American and every critical service is safe online, but we need the partnership of those owners and operators to work with us to put in place these practices to ensure we're safe online.
So I need to change my 123 ABC password, I guess is what you're going to tell me, Ann Neuberger. I'm on it. I wonder in your role, because this is relatively new for a lot of our viewers and listeners, what it is that you actually do at the White House here, and the balance of distributing policy to actually pushing guidelines when it comes to managing utilities like these or other public facilities that could be targets.
Absolutely. The president has made securing digital infrastructure an absolute priority. And there's a few parts to that, right? One part of that is tracking the threat, understanding who are the countries who are capable, what are the roles criminals are playing, what's financially driven crime, who are the countries harboring those individuals. That's one piece of it. So we really understand the threats we face as a country. The second piece of it is saying, what do we need to do to be most effective? There's the policy level, for example, the minimum cybersecurity practices that the administration has put in place for pipelines, for aviation, for rail, so that those sectors are doing the basics they need to do so that they can be confident their operations are safe online. And then there's the resources, the guidebooks, the fiscal resources that the administration has made available as well to help small and medium companies, state and local governments make the most of the resources they have to be safe as well. And then there's the international partnership. So last month, for example, the end of October actually, we brought together 50 partners, 48 countries, Interpol, the International Police Force, and the European Union to talk about how we tackle the transnational cybercrime threat together. Things like how do we trace crypto, the payments, the ransom payments that are fueling criminal activity around the world? How do we identify the infrastructure and take it down? And how do we ensure that countries around the world who may be less capable know how to do forensics, know the best and the most effective cybersecurity practices? And finally, the role of tech companies in building more secure tech to make it easier to use that tech safely. So not only are we focused in understanding the threat, doing what we need to do at home with our partners, but also working around the world because it's such a transnational threat.
Yeah. And from your perch at the White House, you look down Pennsylvania Avenue and that big old building in the U.S. Capitol where they have a lot of work to do, a lot of unresolved issues to manage before year end. And this could be anything from funding our allies to the government, certain renewals at the end of the year. I wonder to what extent the actions or lack of action by this Congress impacts the national security of our country.
The Hill is a key partner in so many initiatives. So for example, in the area of artificial intelligence, an emerging technology area that has real promise in helping us build more secure code and helping us find malicious cyber activity, and also real risk in terms of potentially accelerating criminals and countries finding and exploiting vulnerabilities. You see the work that Leader Schumer is doing to convene, to understand, to think about the regulation needed in that space, building upon the president's historic executive order, building upon the voluntary commitments the White House negotiated with companies. So I think that's an area where we're seeing, and in cyber more broadly, really bipartisan partnership to take on the threats that Congress can uniquely take on and address.
Folks, as a return here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV, I would like to give some of the predictions of cyber threats for 2024 that my colleagues and cohorts and other scientists like myself in cybersecurity have researched, and we want to share with the public some of the concerns that we are looking at for 2024. One of the biggest ones is the AI threat, artificial intelligence. These scams, folks, will be on the increase. So again, if you've listened to our show and seen some of our previous episodes, you got a chance to take a look into the deep world of AI. The threat of AI enables hackers or criminals to become fraudsters and prey on a large population of our society by having fake scams and targeting threats to individuals as well as corporations. These scams will look legitimate, they will look real. They're everything from a deep fake video to a phone call that you may receive on your phone or your cell phone, someone pretending to be a legitimate person with authority and are not. The second one, folks, is the rise in data breaches. Now, we've talked about this countlessly, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of my cohorts in cybersecurity around the world talking to individuals and businesses about the rise in cyber attacks. But still, folks, the hackers are looking for ways to exploit. And how they do that is they spend their 9-to-5 jobs on exploits while we're spending our 9-to-5 jobs on being prosperous and being moral citizens of society. Therefore, we have to be on alert. They only have to get it right once, while we have to get it right every time there's incident and attack that affect us. So for 2024, definitely stay on top of your P and Qs, have policies and procedures put in place, and protect yourself from these types of cyber threats. data privacy and security legislation. So what we're doing, we're going to our politicians, right? And we're asking them to prosecute and put in stricter laws to protect society from these types of cyber thieves. And you will see a lot of that. There's a lot going on right now. More and more states are enacting comprehensive data privacy and security laws. However, it's going to be hard for Congress right now because it's so split 50-50 on what to do, and one party wants to try to outdo the other party, so we need to make sure we are on top of our politicians and let them know that, folks, this is a vulnerability. Having discernment within our legislation, fighting against one another, is a vulnerability that our adversaries will look at a way to exploit us. Privacy concerns over biometrics. So when you think of biometrics, folks, we're talking about your thumbprints, your eye recognitions, using that as another way of having a password. We're looking at these new technologies or utilize them more because hackers are finding out ways to bypass and try to steal our passwords or codes to get into our system. So scientists are coming up with other ways of allowing us to have privacy and securing our data using biometrics, fingerprint readers. Are these safe? Is there ethical concerns regarding this? These are some of the issues that we'll be addressing and looking at into 2024. And of course, our last one is the emotional impact of cybercrimes. The emotional things that are going on right now with cybercrimes, victims being victimized by these types of attacks will deepen. It has stated that it would take an individual approximately 1,600 hours to try to correct an identity fraud on their account by contacting their banks, their credits, their jobs, all of this, because someone has stolen their identity. And it's very devastating too. It has definitely broken up families and caused other things to happen to people as well. And we must be aware of this type of attacks and stay on our P and Qs. Like we've always talked about in the show, shows like mine, other shows and podcasts around the world want to get this message out. So folks, definitely tell a friend. At this point, I also want to give some thanks to our Cybersecurity Awareness TV guests who have been on our show for 2023. I'll start just going down a list of some of them I want to give recognition to. I'd like to say thank you to Sheila Williams from Shewan Bookkeeping Services. She's been on my show a couple of times this year. I want to thank her very much and support her bookkeeping company as well. Also, Sonia Pedowick from Turing Consulting Recruiters. She's an IT consulting recruiting firm. She's been my cohort on my show several times over the years. I want to give her thanks. Also, we have Natalie DiNardo. Natalie DiNardo, she's an insurance broker. She works with cyber liability insurance, and she's been my guest on our show. I want to give her a shout out and a thanks. And we have Lisa Desatellis. Lisa Desatellis, she is with Graphic Imaging Services. She's a document management company. You gotta definitely check out my shows and check out her website over at Graphic Imaging Services for your document management. She offers a great services at protecting your documents and cyber as well. And also my two friends, attorneys with my BNI Group, Business Network International, were guests on my show, Sam Warren and Eric Brosman, attorneys on our show, and we talked about legal issues with cyber and the future of cybersecurity and how it affects the legal industry. And of course, one of our new shows that are coming to our network here, WWDBTV, was with Laura Nolan. Laura Nolan from CS Now Staffing will have a show here on WWDBTV. We look forward to her show here and wish her prosperity as well in 2024. These are just some of our guests that we've had here in our show. And if you'd like to become a guest on our show or have a show of your own here on WWDBTV, definitely contact our producer, John Stiles. Very good. All right, folks. So we're in this segment, and we start our next segment here with the FBI warnings for 2024. But first, I'd like to let everybody know, stay safe, folks, and secure with your data, with your security and your privacy. And again, hashtag stay cyberwoke. We'll be back after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world.
but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Venison Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here #StayCyberWoke. And that's Venison Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VenisonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we're talking about the FBI cyber scams for 2024. The FBI wants us to be aware of as well. And we'll start with a big one, and that's the deep fakes. Folks, this is the election time, 2024 election, and there will be tons of different types of scams that are going on that are directly and indirectly affect all of us. And deep fake is one of the biggest ones. Folks, if you have listened to our show in the past, you understand what a deep fake is. It is a video. Like this one's real. I'm not an avatar. This is actually Mac Jackson talking to you here. But there are videos that are out there that are deep fakes, and you cannot tell what is real and what is Memorex. For those of you back in the 70s and 80s, remember what that line was? You won't be able to tell the difference. So we have to be aware of this. So when you see something, a video or something coming on social media, don't take it as face value. Definitely vet it, like we always say, vet it, check it out first before you give over your personal identifiable information or you believe in the content that you've seen. So as we navigate, folks, to the complexity of the AI in surveillance as well, AI surveillance in retail stores. I just saw a story here a couple days ago, and I don't have the video for it, but I'll share it with you guys, that the self-checkout stands that were used in Walmart and Target. Well, now a lot of these retailers are second guessing those actual technologies, using them anymore, because now people are getting arrested. That's right, folks, they're getting arrested using as a mistake. It's incredible. Here's a story. There was a lady and there's been thousands of people like this, that was in the Walmart store, and she misscanned a product in her shopping cart, right? One item, misscanned it. It's like $50. As she was leaving, security stopped her and asked her to come into the back room, and they wanted to charge her for grand larceny. And she's like, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I did not do it on purpose. They didn't want to believe it. And another incident, now, again, it took her a while. She had to go to court, and they dismissed the charges. But think about that, folks, of the time it took for her to go through that in her life, to go through that devastating personal invasion from a mistake. But here's another one. It's even getting worse. A lot of these retailers, like Walmart, will use AI within their facilities and facial recognition. When the guest pays with a credit card or debit card, it's linked to their bank and their address, right? Now they know exactly where to go to arrest them. There are people now that have claimed that they've gotten arrested weeks later after making a mistake in scanning food items at Walmart. That's right, folks. They made a mistake. 2 weeks later, they'll get the police knocking on their door stating that they're being arrested for stealing at a Walmart. Absolutely incredible. So now people are saying, don't even use the checkout, self-checkouts. Let's just go the old-fashioned way. Stand in that long line and get your items that way. Or, as Jeff Bezos says, order from me, from Amazon, right? Have your food delivered. Have your products delivered and not have to worry about it anymore. Now, so that's that side of it. So we can see the retailer side of it as well, right? The retailers are facing an increase in thefts that are going on. If you notice, a lot of the CVS stores and Walmarts, Walgreens, a lot of them are closing across the country because of theft. And these thieves are brazen. They're going in with shopping carts and bags full of items and just walking out of the store.
They're not even hiding it anymore. Now retailers, you go into a store now, you'll see most of your products behind a plastic shield that you have to get assistance in order to buy it. Is this good for our society? Well, we must speak up about this, folks. We can't sit back and not say anything. I do when I go into my Walmart store and I see someone stealing or something happen where the products I'm used to getting off the shelf are now behind glass. I speak up about it. And I think we all should do that as well. Let them know that this is not something we want, and we want them to do something different. We have the technology. We can make it happen. If we need to hire more security, we need to hire more security. If our legislators need to prosecute more of the actual real thieves that create this type of disasters, we need to do that too. But we need to protect our society and have a free-flowing society where we can actually buy commerce without having to think about we could be arrested for making a mistake purchase at one of our retailers. Folks, to talk about the AI and how it will be affecting our society, I have a story here that I wanted to share with you coming to us from MSNBC. Here's this report.
And let's turn to the 2024 election here back at home, because experts are warning state lawmakers that they need to act quickly to combat the threats of artificial intelligence and deep fakes. This is another of your expertise, your areas of expertise. So what impact do you think AI is going to have in the upcoming election? What do voters need to be on the lookout for? What about foreign interference, Russia, China?
I think that's absolutely right. 2024 is going to be a little different, I think, than what we've seen historically. We've seen threat actors that have targeted the election systems, voter registration databases. They've looked at fundraising platforms and other different components of the election system. But generative AI is going to change the face of the 2024 election, in my opinion. And I think that we've seen Russia, China, Iran heavily engaged in attempting to influence or subvert elections globally. And that's only going to get worse. With generative AI, the tools that will allow audio, video, images to be changed, the ability to very, very quickly and at scale disseminate this false and misleading information is going to have an impact. There's no doubt. I'll add, Andrea, the 2024 is a very important year for democracies around the world. There are more than 40 national elections globally. In addition to the U.S., there's elections in Mexico, in Taiwan, in India, in South Africa. This is going to be a test for democracy in 2024, and AI is only going to make it that much more difficult, Andrea.
Sean Henry. And by the way, earlier, just to finish up here, we talked about those death threats earlier in the program on social media against the Colorado Supreme Court justices. Is there any way to monitor, to control these threats? What does the Justice Department, the FBI, do when they see these horrific threats within 24 hours against the justices of the Supreme Court in Colorado?
One of the most challenging issues for law enforcement in these situations is doing attribution, trying to identify who actually launched these threats. And certainly if they were able to be identified, they would be criminally prosecutable offenses. The challenge, though, as you know, is people are hiding in plain sight. They're using anonymous capabilities. They're using anonymous personas, and it's very, very difficult. They'll work with social media. They'll be able to issue subpoenas, et cetera. But being able to identify the perpetrators is really a difficult situation, Andrea.
Hi, folks. Thank you for coming back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. Hey, and again, I want to thank everyone, and I wish them a happy 2024. And remember, folks, just a couple things that we talked about in this show. I want to emphasize them again. Protect your passwords, folks. Use a passphrase. Make sure that you have a strong software and cybersecurity policy and procedure for your organization to protect yourselves. And make sure, folks, that you do not share your passwords with anybody that's you know. And make sure that when you get these emails, if you get emails from people you don't know, definitely do not click on things you don't believe in. In other words, folks, think before you click. That's all we have for you for this year, folks, for 2023. We'll wish you a happy 2024. We'll see you in a week. Thanks, folks. See you then.